I'm political specialist Shaun talking with Margaret Brennan, host of Face the Nation on CBSDenver.com. So, Margaret, President Trump just said he's raising tariffs from 25 to 30% on Chinese imports in retaliation for China's latest round of tariffs earlier today. What's the reaction in Washington been today?
Well, the reaction in Washington has been similar to what you saw on Wall Street, which was stop escalating, and this concern that sent markets tumbling, that there is no agreement in sight. None of the tariffs put on China so far have led to a single concession from Beijing, and instead you have American companies crying uncle here and saying stop. You had virtually every major business lobby in Washington come out telling the president your strategy's not working, hit the brakes. So there was a lot of concern here. It's interesting because it happens on the eve of a major summit, the G7, where some of the largest economies in the world will be meeting to discuss what some are seeing here as sort of flashing yellow lights of a potential economic slowdown. And President Trump has been firing off tweets virtually all day long since early this morning about what he thinks are the contributing factors and his frustration that he sees some potential risk to the economic boom that he hopes to run for re-election on.
You know, it is interesting. This is one area that many Republicans, including our Senator Cory Gardner, have parted ways with the president.
Well, and then Cory Gardner this week was, the senator was endorsed by President Trump. So we'll see if this time around you hear any Republican elected officials take the president on directly here. At this late hour, it's just been very recent that this latest escalation of tariffs was announced. There'd been the expectation all day long that something was coming, but now we know that there are more tariffs now in October and again September 1st, an increase in the rate that had already been announced. We'll see on Sunday when we speak to Senator Lindsey Graham, ally of the president in many ways, about this. We'll also speak to the representative of many major corporations, the head of the Business Roundtable. That is the business lobby. One-time Bush Chief of Staff Josh Bolten will be joining us. He now runs that organization. And we also will be unveiling polling data. CBS has exclusive reporting here on what voters are telling us about whether they're better off now than they were about 3 years ago when President Trump came into office, because it's how people are feeling and what they're experiencing at their kitchen table, their own economic picture that may influence how they vote.
Yeah, that will be interesting to hear. And the president, quote, ordered U.S. companies to find an alternative to doing business in China. You know, that flies in the face of Republican capitalism.
It flies in the face of capitalism, period. Certainly global markets. This is the world's second largest economy. Not only are they a manufacturing center for American corporations because of the cheap labor in China, but they're also a marketplace to buy American goods. And that is why you saw the National Retail Federation, which represents all the major retailers in this country, come out and say that is simply not realistic. Some of this is hyperbole because for over a decade now, American corporations and some who manufacture in China are just looking for cheaper places to make goods. They've been shifting to Vietnam. They've been shifting to these other Asian countries. That's not because of President Trump. So when President Trump is trying to say that that's a result of his trade war in a positive way, that's not matched by the facts that have developed over the past few years. It also doesn't help American businesses to have these kind of this kind of scrutiny and this kind of threat from the president, which frankly he can't follow through on. You can't force corporations to do that. So some of this may be the president just blowing off some steam. We'll see where we end up by Sunday, because we do have that G7 meeting with major economies happening, and we do expect the global economy to be a big topic.
Never a dull moment. Margaret, thanks. We'll see you on Sunday.